Hello and welcome to NSF's webinar, Shaping the Role of the QP Now and for the Future. I'm really delighted that so many of you have made the time to book onto this session, and I really do hope you enjoy it. Due to operational commitments, this webinar is pre-recorded, so unfortunately I won't be able to answer any questions during or straight after the session. However, if you do have any questions for myself or Mike Halliday, then please do contact us. Our contact details will be shown at the end of the session, and we'll look forward to hearing from you and answering those questions. So let me introduce myself. I'm Catherine Kay. I'm a director at NSF Health Sciences, and I'm very much a new member to the NSF team. I joined last November and very excited to be here. I'm a chemist. I'm eligible to be a qualified person, and I've been working in the pharma industry since the mid-90s. All of my working career has been spent in solid dose manufacturing and packaging of pharmaceutical products, primarily in operations management and supply chain, but I did spend a proportion of time within quality assurance and then acting as a site QP. I'm really interested in continuous improvement and operational excellence and the design and implementation of effective quality management systems. And lastly, but by no means least, I'm passionate about the education and development of people, and so therefore really excited to be involved in NSF's QP training program. So what are we going to cover in this session today? We're going to cover the role of the QP. What is that? What skills and qualities should our QPs be demonstrating? Why are QPs important in your organization? And more importantly, how can they add value to you? And how do you develop and home grow your QPs in your organization so that they stay with you for the long term? So, the role of the QP. Well, as we all know, the release to market of each batch of product in compliance with the marketing authorization must be approved by a qualified person. It's a mandatory requirement in order to be able to supply products within the pharmaceutical and healthcare sectors. That person has to have the academic qualifications, experience, position within the organization to exercise his or her responsibilities effectively. So, much time, effort, expense is directed towards training those wishing to take on those duties. Quality professionals have both a safeguarding role and an influencing role. The first being to ensure patient safety, utmost importance, and that risks to the business are minimized and compliance is maintained. And the second, to see where and how the products and processes can be made more secure and efficient, so reducing costs, shortening lead times, and enhancing customer satisfaction. So the QP educational program provides the legal and technical knowledge base. However, to maximize added value within the organization, these need to be wedded to much wider management skills and capabilities. So, what skills and qualities should the QP demonstrate? So this piece of, I suppose I'd describe it as word art, was shared with me by a trainee QP. She was asked the exact same question and had to present on it. And I think there's a list here of some excellent attributes. I'm sure you would all come up with a similar list and potentially many, many more. So what's it telling us? Our QPs have to be supermen, superwomen to have all of these skills and qualities. But I really just wanted to pick some key ones that are important to me. The QPs have to demonstrate that broad knowledge base. They have to have comprehensive knowledge of relevant European and national legislation relating to the manufacture, storage and supply of product, interpretation of the law, as illustrated obviously in the current Orange Guide, UDRELEX, and they have to stay up to date with the new and changing legislation. They need to understand the key processes for the products that are manufactured and are being certified on their site. And they need to understand the pharmaceutical quality system, have the ability to apply their knowledge to different situations. I think at this stage it's important to note that as a QP, you have to know your own limitations when we talk about, knowledge base. It's okay. You do not need to be the fountain of all knowledge. And I know that was certainly a pressure I found when I was a QP, that people are coming to you, asking your knowledge and on so many facts. And it's important just to remember that you can seek further information from subject matter experts. The other point I wanted to mention, number 2, was communication. This is so important, whether it's the written communication, visual, verbal, or non-verbal. The desired outcome of any communication process is understanding that we can transfer information. The QP may need to obtain more information to aid with making decisions on batch certification, root cause analysis of a deviation, or the QP may need to give information to different people. The non-verbal communication is very important and often overlooked. Eye contact, facial expressions as examples, tone and pitch of voice, body language. What does it say about you? Are people willing to open up and share? QPs need to be a good listener, approachable, able to build relationships and trust, and be seen as open and honest, not as that policeman. So the QP has to have the skill to communicate at the different levels. They need to understand their audience. They need to know when to choose the appropriate communication style and level of detail for that target audience. Moving on then to decision-making. Decision-making and risk management, I would say, are core elements of the QP role. You can make the right decision most of the time if you adopt a structured approach to decision-making. Making the right decision is not just about interpreting data and acting accordingly. It's weighing up opinions and using your experience. You need to seek out information from as many sources as possible. Don't be selective. Focus on obtaining 20% of the information to provide 80% of that understanding. Remember, sometimes information provided by others, although can be very well thought, well meant, may be biased or motivated, politically motivated, or based on assumptions. So, it's extremely important that the individual does not allow external pressures to influence their decision-making process, and that they have the ability to say no if necessary. And lastly, for me, being an instigator of change is an important skill. In order to effectively implement change, the QP has to understand how to make people more likely to accept a change. People are much more likely to accept change if they feel invested in the process, and not if the change has been, put upon them, or it's seen that it's, implemented by management and there's been no involvement from anybody else. So it's important that people understand the why, and it'll help make the process smoother, even if people don't necessarily agree with the change. So that's some of my thoughts, and I also wanted to, take time to actually speak with some colleagues in industry, and colleagues that are QPs, that are QP sponsors, to understand from them that, what do they see as the top 3 skills or qualities that the QP should demonstrate. And, the number 1 that came out was QPs have to display a drive to achieve results. They have to be persistent and demonstrate determination and resilience to deal with challenges. And that they need to be a change agent for quality improvement, driving action forward. They can't sit back. They truly want to add value to their organisation. They have to have excellent people skills. We talk about emotional intelligence, that being self-aware, calm under pressure, having that high personal integrity. We spoke before, or I mentioned one of my key qualities was that, ability to communicate and be a good listener, and that certainly came out in the discussions that I had with others within industry. They need to possess confidence, credibility and gravitas to operate and interact with staff at all levels, motivate, influence and really inspire those around them. I think QPs can either be influencers or blockers, and blockers are those individuals who effectively speculate from the sidelines and act in judgment on the organisation. They're incapable of making risk-based decisions. They apply authority before influence, and that can really destroy organisational confidence and ultimately the performance of the business. So we really need our QPs to be influencers. And the third one was that, that knowledge base, that intellectual capability. Certainly that was something that came through from the group that I spoke with. They have to be able to absorb and simplify complex information, have that solid technical grounding, excellent problem-solving skills, show good judgment, and able to take a decision on the information available. And these skills are gained through education and experience, and to some degree are inherent. But another important factor is the support that they're given by their company and the values by which they work. These determine the behaviour and ultimately the overall culture of the organisation. So we will talk a little bit more about QP support later on. So I want to now move on and just really talk about how can QPs therefore add value to your organisation. So as we've said before, the primary role of the QP is to protect the patient and to protect company value, ensuring compliance with regulatory authority requirements, protects not only the license to operate and the company reputation, but also the market value of the company. Serious regulatory issues can wipe considerable value off the market capitalization of the company. So, this should not be forgotten when we carry out our duties. But secondly, and this is really where your QPs add value, is, the QP has that unique opportunity to see where improvements can be made because they participate in all areas of the business, from the procedures and processes that are carried out, the skills of the workforce, the technologies that are used, and the environment in which they operate. So the QP can therefore see the reasons for failure, for loss of efficiency, those areas of incremental costs. So this knowledge is extremely valuable. So we pose the same question to industry colleagues, again asking them, we ask them where the skills of the QP are, but we also ask them, how can they add value to their organisation? And so some key aspects for them were, the QPs are a flexible resource, able to engage in many aspects of the business and provide leadership across the organisation. They have a strong education and experience background, and can provide input into due diligence of new business opportunities, for example, clinical development, commercial production, distribution and third-party management. Eligible QPs can work in a variety of roles in the business. It doesn't just have to be, within the quality remit. They can be in operations, supply chain, reg affairs, and this is all extremely valuable to the organisation as they understand what's required, and this knowledge can then reach all parts of the organisation. And this is something that I very much did. I was for the majority, or have been for the majority of my career in an operations role, although I was a QP. And it's an area that I enjoyed because I was very keen to develop those relationships between the operations and the quality teams. So, having eligible QPs working in different departments is especially important as complexity is increasing. Complex supply chains, those multiple and emerging markets, multiple source materials, to ensure continuity of supply, legislation changes and technology advancement. They are vital in leading issue management and product recall teams as well. These teams ensure patient safety, and business continuity of supply elements, and make sure that they're all taken into account when decisions are being made. So how do you select and develop your QPs? You know, this is a very important point, and another question that we pose to our colleagues within industry. And so, from a selection point of view, you know, many companies typically have talent management meetings. You know, management come together. They have people meetings throughout the year, where all aspects of employee development, retention, and succession planning are discussed. And at that time, potential candidates for QP training are identified at these meetings, you know, as well as potentially, you know, trainee QPs. The individuals themselves may highlight in their development plans that they, you know, put themselves forward to be a QP. So typically, you know, of course, agreement needs to be sought across the management team and the current QP group on potential candidates, because ultimately they'll be involved in their training and supporting them in gaining that experience, and really need to have that confidence that they will be successful in that role. The individuals themselves need to be highly motivated, and they really need to drive their own development forward. You know, where there are a number of individuals identified, some companies may also carry out a selection process where the QP undergoes an interview, a process potentially, may have to prepare a presentation, you know, and also have maybe some competency-based questions, you know, so assessment of core competencies, but also those scenario-based technical questions as well. And then once the trainee QP has been selected, it really, you know, usually takes approximately 2 to 3 years of both educational training and experience on a licensed site before applying for the QP Viva, all depending on, you know, work experience to date. So it's important for the trainee, along with their sponsor, to build a training plan to fill in any gaps and to gain the appropriate experience, both in different departments within their current organisation, but also to gain experience through site visits of other companies and their dosage forms. So as this whole process from trainee to qualified person can take some time, many companies create a pipeline of trainee QPs with periods of overlap, you know, so they home grow their QPs. And this meets the needs of the business, but also embeds some good technical decision makers in the organisation to support those existing QPs. And then once you've selected your trainee QP and they complete their training and are successful in their Viva, it's important to continue to develop these individuals so that they stay with your organisation. You know, you've invested huge amounts of time and money in these individuals, and you want them to stay. You know, and this can often be very difficult, you know, from a monetary perspective, because, you know, there is certainly within the industry a certain sort of salary requirement, and there's a huge demand for QPs. But that's why, as an employer, you need to be proactive. You know that you're sponsoring your QPs, you're putting them forward to the Viva. You wouldn't be putting them forward for the Viva if you didn't think they were going to be successful. So you need to be proactive and then ready to move them on to that next level within the organisation. So it's important to discuss with them their own ambitions and career goals, set a development plan that's aligned with both the individual but also the business needs, as well as looking for those stretch opportunities for them. You know, you need to ensure, even if it's limited, but that there is some kind of continuous professional development budget available to them so that they can attend some regular training to stay up to date. But in the longer term, you know, the QP may develop into line management roles or be seconded into other key business projects such as ERP implementations, serialization projects, facility expansions maybe, these kinds of things. You know, and as we said before, maybe then go into operational or supply chain roles. You know, they can add extreme value to you in those parts of the organisation. But I would say that one of the biggest factors in retention, other than monetary, is to ensure that the QP feels valued and supported by their manager and the company. You know, and that they have that opportunity to get involved in wide-ranging roles within the organisation. You know, the journey of learning should never stop. So, you know, in conclusion, We've shown that QPs can seriously influence the performance of an organisation. They not only need that legal and technical knowledge base, but they need to have those excellent leadership skills as well and have that growth mindset. Protecting the business from risk by influencing the business processes via personal engagement and respect for the abilities, contributions and motivations of colleagues is far more effective in the long term. So, as employers, my plea to you is really make sure your QPs feel valued and supported with opportunities to develop and grow. After all, as a senior manager, all you really want to be able to do is sleep well at night and have the confidence that things are being managed well. At NSF, we not only provide the trainee QP with a knowledge base as per the QP study guide, but educate our QPs as how to be the best QP that they can be. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please do contact myself or Mike Halliday. Our details are there on the screen, both email and phone. And also like to draw your attention to the fact that we are launching an e-learning program coming up in April 2018. Please either go to our website where we have some details of the first few courses that we'll be launching, or otherwise contact us for more details if you'd like to know more about this and what other programs are coming your way. So I'd like to now finish with a very short video for you. So please enjoy this and thank you.
NSF International has been running qualified person training courses for over 25 years.
Right, good morning everybody and welcome to this QP module on packaging in the pharmaceutical industry.
The courses are approved by the Royal Society of Chemistry and have a very high first-time pass rate, over 96%. The overall syllabus has 12 modules that meet and exceed the requirements of the UK QP study guide. And you can gain postgraduate qualifications, from a postgraduate certificate to an MSc.
Let's move on to your last flip chart, so moving around the room, clockwise direction. Thank you very much.
Teaching and learning on the course is highly interactive, with a combination of lectures, discussion scenarios and teamwork to embed the learning.
You need to also put a lot of precautions on the print house.
At the end of each course, delegates receive comprehensive notes, including reference materials and access to our website. Our world-class NSF tutors are industry experts, including academics from the University of Strathclyde, who provide support and guidance throughout the course.
So I'm going to talk to you about aluminium.
You can then apply bracketing and matrixing on top of each other.
Okay everybody, that's great, let's go for a coffee break.
Delegates come from all over the world, so courses are a great opportunity to network and share best practice.
The tutors are really fantastic, they're all really enthusiastic about the subjects. The notes are really comprehensive, so you kind of got everything you need to help with revision for the exams and for the Viva.
The good thing about them is that you get to network with everybody that's here. Everybody has different experiences.
The tutors have been really helpful, very knowledgeable. The course material, extremely useful.
NSF offers a very high level of support to course delegates.
And we'll take this opportunity of having our one-to-one session.
We will help you with a gap analysis of your CV, followed by a written recommendation on which modules would be right for you. As well as one-to-one tutor meetings, we also run Viva preparation sessions, including scenario tutorials and a review of the application form.
I would have quite a considerable concern as a QP for an issue like that, because it's an injectable product, it's a sterile product, and particles in solution would obviously represent quite a serious risk to the patient.
If I was an assessor, I'd be quite comfortable both in terms of the way you went through your thought processes and the conclusions you actually came through to, so well done.
You can also attend a free QP seminar to see a course in action. For more information on our QP courses, contact NSF.